Hey folks, I'm best-selling author of The Power Zero, David McKnight. In today's video, you'll see part 4 of my interview with co-founder of Power Zero, Larry DeLegge, in which we discuss how soon AI will replace financial advisors, whether we can expect to see a flat tax in the near future, and if Congress is planning to take away the tax advantages of cash value life insurance. Okay, so if I understand the question correctly, with technology and ChatGPT and AI, are we going to sort of technology ourselves right out of a job? Is that sort of what you're getting at? Okay, so would the public be better off by working directly with a machine than with an advisor? Is that sort of? Okay. Well, it's just interesting. I was talking to Taylor, the guy, he's one of our VPs walking around with a mic. We were talking about this yesterday, and how complex these case designs are that these guys do day in and day out. He says it's not so much a science as an art. It's like you're putting together puzzle pieces and you're trying to make sure they all fit together. You're looking at someone who is squarely on the train tracks, squarely in the tax-deferred bucket, with all these different things going on, all these different variables, and you're saying, how can we put them in a position? How quickly do we need to shift money to tax-free, keep them in as low a tax bracket along the way, get all the heavy lifting done before tax rates go up for good, minimize tax liability along the way? You know, I'm just not all that convinced that AI is going to figure that out anytime soon, and then be able to interact with the life insurance software and the annuity software and be able to make all that to come together in a cohesive, cogent message. I'm just not all that convinced that AI can do it. Maybe someday AI will be able to do it. I don't think we're anywhere close. When I put into ChatGPT, tell me what, if I put in $100,000 per year for 10 years and I grow at 10%, how much can I take out over a 35-year life expectancy? It doesn't give me the right answer. So I don't think we're in danger of losing our jobs to AI anytime soon.
Do you have any concern that with the Power Zero, that eventually in the future, with the tax train that's coming, that they'll turn to a consumption tax, and we'll have done all this, and now we're on the other side of it, and we have to go back the other direction?
Sort of like a VAT tax? Is that what you're saying, where you
like
pay a
fair tax, flat tax, like a consumption tax on just
I see,
doing
like a
away
flat
with the
tax.
tax code and just being a higher consumer sales tax?
No, not so much a flat tax. I could see them possibly doing like a VAT tax like they do in Europe somewhere down the road. But again, I sort of take my cues from history, and I watch the ebbs and flows of tax rates over time, and every single time that the federal government has needed huge infusions of cash, what have they done? They've raised the federal income tax rate. And I don't think that's going to be any different in the future, particularly when you look at the fact that there are $35 to $40 trillion in the cumulative retirement savings accounts across the country that are locked up in IRAs and 401ks, tax-deferred vehicles. I think that there's going to be a huge bullseye on those types of accounts, and I think that they're going to tap into that by way of increasing federal tax rates over time. It could be that it's all of the above. It could be it's a VAT tax. It could be it's an increase in federal tax rates, a massive reduction in spending. I will tell you this, though. 2043 is going to be a big year for our country. Penn Wharton just came out with a new study where they said that once we hit 2043, which is about a 200% debt to GDP, they said it could be as soon as 2040 when we're at about 175% debt to GDP. They said once we hit that point, no combination of increasing taxes or reducing spending will arrest the fiscal collapse of our nation. So we've got a window here, folks. They've got to do something within the next 15 years, and the sooner that they do something, the less draconian the fix will be along the way. So every year that goes by where you don't read the newspaper and say, hey, they raised taxes or massively cut spending or restructured Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, every year that goes by that doesn't happen means the fix is going to be that much more draconian. And the options and the solutions to be able to put our country back on a sustainable fiscal path are going to be that much more narrow.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is, what are my thoughts on whether Congress is going to change the rules on cash value life insurance somewhere down the road? I'm like, man, I feel like as long as we have NAFA in our corner, I feel pretty good about our chances. You know, that's, yeah. I mean, if you guys are in our industry and you're not members of NAFA, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, they're going to bat for you all the time, making sure that you have the ability to continue to go out there and make a living. So we're going to have Nafe on here a little bit later, but these guys have our backs. I think we should get their backs. And, they're going to be looking at for sources of cash in all quarters as we slowly slide into insolvency. So we need to have people like NAFA in our corner going to bat for us. And that's why I give full-throated endorsements to NAFA whenever I get, when they say come speak, I say, I'm not charging you any fee. I'm just going to come and I'm going to speak because NAFA absolutely has our best interests at heart.
If you know David McKnight, you know he likes to write books a little bit. So he's always working on something. Now that you've got this book done, what's next?
So the next book that I'm going to write, I'm already thinking about it, is going to be, I just talked about how Power of Zero works for people who have already accumulated money, right? They've already accumulated the money. The question is, how can they wring the most efficiency out of it? And how can they best shield themselves from the impact of higher taxes? Well, my next book is going to talk about that younger generation, right? So I know Tom Hegna just did a book called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I want to talk to the younger generation of America. I want to talk to the people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s and say, okay, what's coming down the road, okay? And how can I best shield myself from the impact of what's coming down the road? So whereas Power of Zero works best for people that are probably 50 to 67, something like that, we need a book that's going to speak directly to the younger generation. And is it going to involve life insurance? It's absolutely going to involve life insurance. Ernst & Young says the people who contribute 30% of their retirement savings to cash value life insurance take much more income in retirement than people who do just investments alone. That's not a message that's getting out. Thanks to Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman and Clark Howard, that message is just getting completely muffled because any association with cash value life insurance is absolutely like kryptonite these days. So we need to redeem life insurance. We need to redeem tax-free planning principles, and we need to take them directly to the younger generation.
Any advice you might give to somebody who might be looking to write their own books, especially in this financial arena?
One thing I would tell you is that if you're writing a book, and more people are writing books, and I commend you for writing those books, it's not an easy thing to do. But one of the things that I've noticed, a lot of people like to start with their own personal story right out of the chute. That's fine, as long as it's a really, really compelling personal story, because people aren't all that interested in you. They're interested in what's in it for them. So it's okay if you have a really compelling personal story. I don't ever start my books with my own personal story. I want to start my book with a story that will grab their attention and then keep them for the rest of the book. I want something that's going to suck them in. Does anybody remember the first paragraph of The Power of Zero? Remember what the very first paragraph. I have people tell me this all the time. I read the first paragraph and I was hooked. That first paragraph, not long ago, a CPA named David Walker appeared on national radio and told the radio show hostess that a 4-letter word would explain why tax rates had to double over the course of how many years. And people called in trying to figure out what that 4-letter word is, and nobody could figure out what the 4-letter word was that explained why tax rates had to double. And finally, at the end of that interview, that CPA, David Walker, told the radio show hostess what the 4-letter word was to explain why tax rates had to double. He says it's math. And what does math have to do with the future of our fiscal, path of our nation? And then I go on from there. But you got to have a way to suck somebody in, and I think the best way to suck somebody in is not by telling your personal story about how you got there, because they don't really care about that all that much at the end of the day. You need to, if you guys think that Power of Zero is the book version of my flagship presentation that you guys saw yesterday morning, if you think about that flagship presentation, what is it? It's just a series of stories that I've strung together for an hour. Compelling stories that I know are going to hit hot buttons with our clients and prospects. Facts tell, stories sell. Tell stories, people. If you're going to write a book, find some good stories and make those stories the centerpiece of what you're trying to drive home. And that, I think, is how you write a good book. Okay, folks, that was part 4 of my interview with co-founder of Power Zero, Larry DeLegge. In the next 10 years, I'm looking to put 1 million Americans on the road to the 0% tax bracket. If you would like some help implementing a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement that shields you from the impact of higher taxes down the road, head on over to davidmcknight.com and click on the Connect with an Advisor button. I'm happy to refer you to an advisor in the Power Zero Network that has been trained, vetted, and qualified personally by me. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free video series. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. I'll respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.